on this vote, the yeas are 96, the nays are 0. The 60 vote threshold having been achieved, the bill is passed.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. My name's Austin. In a vote of 96-0, late last night, a unanimous vote, the $2 trillion stimulus package for the United States of America got passed by the Senate. And what this legislation does specifically, it does three things. It creates a loan program for small businesses. It establishes a lending fund for industries, like the airline industry, also a lending fund for cities and states. And number three, and this affects you, it gives a check to every single American, unless you make too much money. Now, keep in mind, this just passed in the Senate. That was the hard part. It's expected to follow suit in the House. That should happen this Friday. And in Donald Trump's own words, assuming that it passed in the Senate, which it just did, he will sign it into existence immediately. Listen to Steve Mnuchin break down exactly what this legislation entails.
The president has outlined many of these, but let me just quickly go through them. Again, small business retention loans. This will cover roughly 50% of the private payroll in small businesses, where we will immediately make loans that will supply 8 weeks of salaries as long as they keep workers employed. And those loans will be forgiven at the end of the period as long as they keep workers employed. So this will be a very simple system to get money into small business hands. For companies that don't qualify that, we have a economic program of tax incentives to retain workers. And as the president said, we have enhanced unemployment insurance for people who don't fit into these two programs that will be administered through the states. We also have economic impact payments. These will be within the next 3 weeks, direct payments into most people's deposit accounts. And for those that don't have it, we will be having the checks in the mail. Treasury will have additional authorities. We have $500 billion that we can use to work with the Federal Reserve for emergency programs that will create up to an additional $4 trillion if needed to support American business and American workers in an unprecedented way. And then finally, the president mentioned $100 billion to hospitals and $150 billion to states that have specific virus expenses, as well as many additional things.
Okay. Make no mistake about it, this is a massive amount of money coming into this economy. And I'm going to be honest, it doesn't really favor the little guy. I mean, yes, we're going to get some money, but honestly, the majority of that $2 trillion is going to companies. But if you own a small business, you also benefit. The bill would expand the eligibility for small businesses, defined as businesses under 500 employees, which there is a lot of, to receive a loan of up to $10 million under the Small Business Act. And also, if you qualify, loans are eligible for forgiveness if they meet specific criteria. Now, just how long is all this going to last? How long will our economy be stimulated?
But we think
I would say we've anticipated 3 months. Hopefully we won't need this for 3 months. Hopefully this war will be won quicker, but we expect that this is a significant amount of money, if needed, to cover the economy.
And don't forget, a lot of this is going to be to keep companies that are very strong, AAA rated companies previously, to keep them going, and it's going to be in the form of loans, so the money's going to come back. A lot of this money's coming back.
Okay. So 3 months max. They're hoping this pandemic, they're hoping people can get back to work before that. But if not, $2 trillion is meant to last us 3 months. Now, on a macroeconomic scale, I do want to talk about what this means for Bitcoin holders. But first, let's talk Turkey. When this passes in the House, how much money are you going to get in a check? But first, how soon can we expect this check?
And we are hearing you are pushing for April 6th to have direct payments issued to taxpayers. Is that the target date?
I think that's
Again,
very much.
I would say our expectation is within 3 weeks, we will have direct payments out where we have depository information. And we're looking to get a lot more information, and we have procedures to do that. So 3 weeks for that. And I would say the end of next week, we want all the banks to be able to originate loans same day.
Okay. So if you want a loan from the bank, you only have to wait a week. But if you want your check, it's It's going to be about 3 weeks. And this is what this legislation gives you. It gives direct payments of up to $1,200 for individuals, $2,400 for couples, and $500 added for children. I will point out that this channel broke this information to you 6 days ago. This is just when this was rumored. Now we have confirmation. This passed 96-0 in the United States Senate last night. It's projected to pass in the House. The Senate was the hard part. And if it does, this is pumping massive amounts of money into the economy. Corporations are getting most of that, but the individual is getting some of that, and it's meant to stimulate. Now, I'm not a financial advisor, but in my opinion, while this, yes, it might pump the economy in the short term, if we're expecting the economy to pump back up to where it was at the projections, at the pace of where we were in January, and really for the last 10 years, we've been overdue for a correction, right? We saw the dot-com bubble, we burst, the 2008 housing crisis, we burst, and look at this. We've been overdue for a while. The two things to consider is number one, the US economy is now on pace to have the worst pandemic outbreak anywhere. 10 days ago, we passed Spain. A few days ago, we passed China. So to think that the American economy is just going to pump back to what it was, I think is wishful thinking. This is going to last a while. And to think that we're going to have the spending power that we may have from individuals, I don't think that a person getting $1,200 is going to be spending that all in the economy. I bet they spend what they need to, and they save some. This correction, if we base it on other corrections, it might last between 2 to 8 months, which they typically do. It is for that exact reason I'm stacking sats more than ever. In 1900, we had $200 million USD in circulation. 1935, we had 10 billion. 1970, we had 70 billion. And in 2020, we have over $4 trillion in circulation. Well, that escalated quickly. But how are the companies feeling about this $2 trillion injection? I mean, if they feel confident, then the economy will probably be fine. But I liked this perspective from Mark Cuban, why this recession is probably just starting, or this economic slowdown is probably just starting.
Well, how do you think about this very question? When is it safe to send people back to work?
You know what, when you deal with imperfect information, you make imperfect decisions, and there's no reason to rush this. I'd rather err on the side of caution. I'm not going to, tell people to go to work when I'm uncertain. And, not as only is it a safety issue, it's a business issue. How companies respond to that very question is going to define their brand for decades. If you rushed in and somebody got sick, you were that company. If you didn't take care of your employees or stakeholders and put them first, you were that company. And particularly with the Gen Z and millennial generations, that's going to be unforgivable. So not only is it smart to take care of your employees, but it's also good business. And that's the way I'm looking at it.
Hey, great perspective from Mark Cuban. If you agree, if you disagree, sound off below in the comments. I really would be interested to hear if you think this stimulus package is going to help. Hey, and as a Bitcoin holder, think about this. The S&P, traditional markets, they are down 25% in price year to date since January 1st. But Bitcoin is only down 8% year to date. Now, both of these assets fell and fell hard, but Bitcoin recovered first, recovered faster, just like gold. We are watching Bitcoin slowly decouple from traditional assets. I know it doesn't feel like it, guys, but we're making progress. Neo has just released $11 million worth of their coins, their tokens, from cold storage to fund itself through 2020. So they're taking the old Ripple approach, and presumably they're going to sell these coins. That's the only way they could fund themselves. The Neo Foundation announced on March 25th that they had released the necessary funds to continue operating for the 2020 fiscal year. They released a total of over 1,600,000 Neo, the coin, worth approximately $11 million was released, with over 27 million Neo, over 190 million still remaining. So presumably they have this to use to fund themselves for the rest of their existence. But if you hold Neo, right now the price is about $6. It's still ranked 23rd in overall market cap. I would expect this to drop a little as they sell to fund them for the year. that is the video for today. My name's Austin. See you tomorrow.